Yo, welcome to another episode of the Coastal Controversial Podcast Sports Talk. I'm your host, Simply Nicholas 87, and my co host, TH. What's up, baby?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Nothing much, man. Chilling, man. And for all the new people out there, y'all definitely hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 200. We are 37 away, so y'all tell a friend to tell a friend to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and join the movement. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, man. I want to go before I get into the topics of the day. I want to talk about all the hype of last week's football. I watched the game, or Patriots game, and I also watched the Panthers game.
Yeah, I watched both games too. I want to start with the Patriots game. I'm not
Okay.
understanding how a team is 1-3 and keep getting so much love. It's like they lose the game every week, and everyone's bragging about Mac Jones and bragging about how the Patriots should feel so great. I'm like they're 1-3.
I
They've
feel
only
great. We losing.
right. So my point, and out of the four games they played, they've only scored over 17 points in one of them. They scored 25 points against the Jets. They scored 16 points against the Dolphins. They scored 13 points against the Saints, and they scored 17 against the
It's the
Buccaneers.
Patriots.
So yeah,
The
and they're right. So they're averaging 17.75 points per game. So that's less than 18 points a game. Yet everyone keeps bragging about how well their offense is being run and what Mac Jones is doing with that offense. Why they should be excited. They're not scoring points. They're not getting in the end zone, and they're not winning games. So and this all goes back to the narrative when it comes to certain quarterbacks. The media wants to push this narrative, and what's bothering me is that when they lose, everyone keeps saying, "Well, they don't have a good offensive line. All of those tight ends, their receiving targets are not good. Supporting cast is not doing their job. I like they have like a top 10 defense for one. So
Yep.
last year they had a bad offensive line and had a worse receiving core than they have now. But yet it was just all Newton's fault, and nobody cared about that. Now all of a sudden everybody wants to blame the supporting cast, want to blame the receivers and blame the offensive line. That may be fair if those guys are not holding their weight. But last year those two units were even worse. But yet everything was Newton's fault. So before none of that stuff mattered, but now all of a sudden it matters, and those are excuses that are being made for them losing ball games. The thing is, it never had anything to do with with necessarily who the position itself, or is that people didn't like the man that was under center. They didn't want him there in New England last year. They didn't like who they had, so that was the issue. Whereas now, this is their darling. This is who they want, so they're making excuses for him. So when he comes up short, it's an excuse, and everyone's saying all the offensive line bad, all the receivers are bad. Yet last year, none of that mattered. It's just that Newton took all the blame for it. So that leads me to the point where it's about who it is and the narrative that they want to push. And the narrative that they want to push is even that this is the guy. And even though they continue to lose games, everyone's bragging about them like they might be 3-1, even though they're 1-3. Even Chris Collinsworth the whole time is going on and on about, man, Josh McDaniels got to be amped now. I'm like, they just lost another game,
Game.
but yet, yeah,
Amp.
they're
Supposed
one
to
like they're 1-3, not 3-1, not 2-2. They're
lose.
1-3, 0-3 at home. At that 0-3 on their own stadium. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, if Cam Newton was 1-3 and 0-3 at home, they would be coming after his head with a swivel. But
Yep.
instead, they're bragging about how great Mac Jones is and making excuses for when they lose. That lets
Keep
you know they're
pushing the
different.
finish line.
Right? So that lets you know they're different rules based on who it is, and I'll be frank, based on what they look like. With the Carolina Panthers, with the Panthers and Cowboys, we got pushed around at the line of scrimmage. The Cowboys
Yeah.
offensive line, they were able to take control of the line of scrimmage, dominate our front, and we weren't able to get any penetration on the defense from the defensive line. They were able to establish the run early, which allowed everything to stay on schedule. And we had our challenges defensively, and it showed in the result of the game.
Definitely like the signing that y'all picked up yesterday. That's a pretty good one that y'all got coming to the
Yes,
squad.
yeah, Gilmore for Rock Hill, South Carolina, played for South Point Stallions and Rock Hill,
Yeah.
former Defensive Player of the Year. That's a great pickup. Glad to have him home. And all of a sudden now, our secondary is starting to look nice. We traded for the
Yeah.
guy from Jacksonville, who's ninth pick in 2020. I know we got the gentleman that was Jason Horn is out right now, but worlds of potential there. You already got Jeremy Chin at safety. Once upon
Yep.
a time, under the previous regime, the secondary was an area that we didn't allocate resources to. Now it seems like we got man from Seattle, and he's trying to recreate his own Legion of Boom here on the East Coast. So
he got a good corners. I'm
right,
telling you that now. He got two AJ
yeah,
and
and Stephon, but
Stephon.
uh,
Yeah,
and we already got a good front seven. So now you got a back four to go with it. I think once this defense come into its own, continue to come into its own, I think this can be a dominant defensive unit that can carry this team to the playoffs and beyond.
offensively, I'm not saying it's question marks, but it could be question marks. Not a lot of question marks.
Well, if
Quarterback
you
ain't
got
play as bad as I thought he did. He's actually playing pretty decent.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have McCaffrey, you'll be okay because he's the one that make the engine goes. The offensive line is questionable. That's most of his struggles have come when he hadn't had protection. Of course, I don't. He's not going to be this all pro guy, but he can be a legitimate starting quarterback for a winning team if everything else is right. Like if the running game is there and the defense plays like it's played the first three games, he could still have success and be adequate enough. I'm not
Right.
saying that he's the long term answer, but he's the guy that can be the bridge and you can still make the playoffs if he's just steady.
Yeah, I agree with that. As far as his they got as far as DJ Moore, that's the athlete.
DJ,
He does
yeah,
everything.
he's been good since he came in the league. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are a good
Yeah.
tandem.
So I want to say Carolina actually has the pieces that they need right now, and like I said, it's just the line, the offensive line. They get that figured out. I can see them actually making a good push if they get the line issue situated. They can make a good
Well,
push
no,
in the playoffs.
well, who they have as far as line is concerned, what they got is what they got. That's not
Right.
just yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that ain't, it ain't like we're gonna rub a lamp and the genie's gonna come out and he's gonna make it go away. I mean, it is what it is.
But I mean, as far as this point, as 4 games, it's just 4 games. But I mean, they look good. I mean, they didn't look as good in Dallas again, but they didn't look bad either because Dallas defense isn't that good.
I put it like this: we played 4 games, we won 3 of them. That's all that matters.
Yep, 3. You got you in the plus side instead of us. We cheering for 1 win and 3 losses. So
But the media gives y'all more praise as a legit contender, and they kind of cast us off. But y'all are 1-3.
nothing to
I
win, nothing. Listen, let me tell
yeah,
you something.
you
Buffalo
know I'm
from the
gonna go.
walkover is like a what how Jr. say like a scalded dog.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a one-legged man. It's gonna be like a one-legged man in a you know what you
Yeah,
said one-legged man in a butt kicking contest. It's gonna
yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna go on a limb and say that the New England Patriots will travel to NRG Stadium in Houston and lose to the Houston Texans on Sunday. I'm
I
even
wouldn't
gonna
be
say that
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
because their local media and the national media are celebrating them in defeat. Like it's almost like losing to the Undertaker at WrestleMania. They're like, well, he still went, he still got himself over. Yeah,
Good job.
yeah. It's like they're sitting there cheering and celebrating a moral victory, and they're 1-3. And it's
Like,
all, and then again with an emotional game with Tom Brady's return and the hype around it. Now you turn around and go down to Houston, a game with no hype and no kind of coverage or
and
expectation.
can potentially
Some
lose that game.
right. My point
Potentially.
is the point I'm making is lots of times when you just had a big emotional game the week before, when you're going on the road against a team that's not considered much that many would look for you to beat in a situation where there's not hype and not much and there's not much emotional charge going into that. Sometimes you can have a big letdown after a big game where everybody's praised you about looking good in defeat. Kind of like when Florida State looked good losing to Notre Dame, then they turn around and lost to Jacksonville State the next week. That type of thing can happen, and I
They
expect
finally got the first win.
yeah they did against Syracuse. I expect so I'm thinking the New England Patriots will travel down to Houston and lose this Sunday. And if that happens, we'll revisit that
Visit that,
next week.
But again, like I said, I wouldn't be shocked. And you can see, look at my face. I would not be shocked
Yeah, but
because
back to that
we not putting it. The offense has not putting up any kind of drives. Honestly, it's like there's not been good drives. I don't understand the hype about
He just dinking and dunking. All he doing, yeah, he threw for 275 yards, but he threw 40
you
passes,
dink and
completed
dunk
30.
most of it.
Right,
Yeah,
right. My point is, if you threw 275 yards is not a lot for 40 passes. You completed that's on 31 completions. That means you barely and he was like one for whatever. The only pass that he threw beyond 20 yards got intercepted on. and he hasn't been. And those were the same criticisms that Newton had last year. But with him, it's like he can't throw. With Mac, it's just like always everybody else's fault. So,
but Mag is just dinking and dunking, check down, couple intermediate routes. That's all.
And I'm tired of people saying, well, he's a rookie and this is for the future. I like before the season started, when he was awarded the starting job, people said that now that Mac Jones has started, this now propels them to being a contender. Even Stephen A. Smith, a lot of the pundits said that. So don't turn around now and say, well, he's just a rookie. When before you were saying that now that he's the starter, that propels them to being a contender. And then suddenly when they're not winning, then going to play the rookie card. You can't have it both ways.
I want to say this. They pulled the rookie card. Really? They pulled the rookie card.
Some people on Twitter and stuff are pulling the rookie card.
Let me tell you something. Again,
there you
go. Cam Newton had a better rookie season than in his first 3 games than Mac Jones is having right now in his first 4.
Yeah, true. He threw 400 yards. His first 2 games, he threw 400 yards in back-to-back games. Sure did.
Right.
But people don't, and threw 4,000 yards that season. But people
don't think Mac Jones has 1,000 yards passing in 4 games. If he might be right over, but he's not that much.
I don't know, because this is the only game where he went over 200, I think. So.
Yeah, know what I'm saying. So Cam had 800 in 2 games as a rookie.
Yeah, and then you got to realize Cam's rushing too. Cam was rushing for a lot of people last year. They talk about when Newton had only 8 touchdowns. I said, yeah, but he also had 12 rushing touchdowns. They still right. My point is, those still count the same on the scoreboard, whether you run it in his zone or whether you throw it in his zone.
It's 6 points in the air, 6 points on the ground.
Right, it's still 6 points. Just like even with the kid in Carolina now, Mac Jones actually leads the league. Not Mac Jones. The guy that used to play for USC, Sam Darnold. Yeah. Sam Darnold leads the league in rushing touchdowns, but you don't hear people trying to call him a running back or nothing. When Newton was doing stuff like that, I was like, he's not a pass. He's just a running back there. Nobody's called. It's like it's almost like a point where people are bragging about Darnold leading the league and rushing touchdowns, but no one's calling him a running back. And they're running zone read and stuff in the red zone with them, which is fine. I mean,
what's good about it? He run it so good. When I watched him in Dallas, he did it so it was like perfect. Like he just
And don't get me wrong. And don't get me wrong. That's a good thing. As long as you score touchdowns, I'm happy. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just comparing what the narrative is. And you know what? I'm going to quit sugarcoating it. The narrative, like when it comes to black quarterbacks, like Cam Newton, like Lamar Jackson, like your Michael Vicks, they use that as when they're running for touchdowns. They use that as a negative connotation. Yet when white quarterbacks do it, it's used as positive. For a long time, Steve Young was the all-time leader in rushing touchdowns for quarterbacks, and he was revered, and rightfully so. Great quarterback, Super Bowl champion, and all that. But my point is, when black quarterbacks set records like that, it's looked at. I told you he's not a passer; he's just a runner. So it's amazing. Like even like Mitch Trubisky, a guy who ran zone read, even a guy like Mark Brunell, who's a dual threat, scrambling quarterback. But nobody ever accused Mark Brunell of being a running back or questioned whether he had the aptitude to play quarterback in this league. And when it comes down to it, it has nothing to do with mobility. It has to do with skin color.
Yep, you're absolutely right. So we're gonna jump off of that. We're gonna segue next week. We'll segue back into it. But tonight I want to do something a little different. Kind of like doing these little tournament things. I think they're pretty cool. This one came in my head a couple days ago, and I felt like, this should be deserving. This is a deserving tournament list that I put together. So these are what I call, as you see the name of the title, the missing rings. These are the teams that had potentially Super Bowl hopes. Some actually got there and lost, and some actually like one step away from getting there and losing. So, with further ado, I got we're gonna start with the AFC. We're gonna start with the 1990 Buffalo Bills, who had a record of 13-3, finishing the regular season, averaged 1 in offense, and I think they averaged 6 overall in defense.
Yeah, they went to 4 straight. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost all 4 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You talking 1990? You talking? Is that when they lost to the Giants?
Yep.
Yeah, when they missed a 47-yard field goal. That's the only one that I thought that they really failed. And the others, Dallas was gonna beat the hell out of them anyway. Those Dallas teams were just
why I didn't put those previous ones on there. That was the one they should have won.
Yeah, because they lost 2 to Dallas, I think. And then who else they lose to?
Washington. Was Washington?
Yeah, that was a great watch. My point is, the other three they lost, they weren't favored to win. Like they were expected to lose those. The one against the Giants is the one they should have won. But go ahead.
And but 6 overall in defense, and they did make it out the AFC to go to the Super Bowl. Lost to the New York Giants, 19-20. Missed field goal by Norwood at the end of the game.
A 47-yarder to be exact.
Yep. I don't know what kind of mail he got after that game, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't good mail.
That's not a chip shot, though. I mean, elite kicker can make 47 yarders, but it's not like it was a 35 yard. That's still not just a chip shot.
I mean, yeah, it's not a chip shot, but Now I'm gonna go down to the bottom, right up under my picture right here on the screen. We're gonna go to the '98 Minnesota Vikings, who had a regular season record of 15-1.
Led by Randall Cunningham.
Read by Randall Cunningham, Randy Moss, Robert Smith,
Robert Smith, Chris Carter.
Chris Carter. The defense with the smallest defensive line I think that probably ever played in the league. All of them were under 6'1". I think majority of them were. That defense was also ranked 6th. Offense ranked number 1. At one point in time, they held the record for the most points scored in a season, but that was also broken as well.
They lost to Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, in the NFC Championship game in '98, I think it was 20. I want to say it was 27-24, if I'm not mistaken.
Chris Chandler led Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, Chris Chandler and what's my man name? Anderson.
Jamal Anderson.
The Dirty Bird.
Terrence Mathis and all them.
Yeah. But the kicker, I think his name was Morton Anderson.
Morton Anderson.
Yeah, Morton.
He was about 46 years old.
Kicked had broken NFL record for didn't miss a kick the whole season. Didn't miss a kick for 2 years until he missed a kick to go ahead kick the win, finish the game off in the fourth quarter, which turned the game into overtime, and the Falcons ended up winning with the other Anderson kicker.
Gary Anderson.
Gary Anderson, yeah.
He kicked. He was in the mid-40s too.
Yep. I thought they were brothers. I was like, they might be kin. I was like, damn.
Nah. And they're no more kin than Arn and Ole.
Nah. Yeah.
They're not kin either. So there you go.
Anderson,
you saw what I did there, right? The Anderson.
See how you did that. All right, so we go to the next team, which will be the 2007 New England Patriots, who finished the regular season at 16-0. I don't know if that was technically it's not really a record, but it is a regular season record.
Yeah, it is a record because nobody ever went 16-0. The Dolphins went 14-0 in the regular season.
Yep.
Then they 14 games in.
Going into the Super Bowl, actually they were number 1 in offense. Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns that year. Randy Moss got 23 touchdowns for I think he had 1493 in receiving yards that year.
Yeah, he had a hell of a season.
Had a hell of a season. Wes Welker was on the team, and then you had that defense with Brewski, Vrabel, and Sante Samuel. Sante Samuel, Ellis Hobbs, Rodney Harrison.
Yeah, I don't like that SOB, but yeah.
They were number 1 in offense and number 6 in defense. Got all the way to the Super Bowl, lost at the last second to the New York Jets, finishing the season at a total of 18-1. But here or there, that was another team that was expected to win that game outright. But I mean, at the end of the season, they had that last game to get the 16-0 against the Giants.
The Giants, yeah.
They barely pulled that one out. I think they won by
38-35. I know. I watched the game. It was 38-35. I watched the game.
I know it was a Saturday night game. I do remember that.
Yeah, it was 38-35, and then the Super Bowl score was
17-14.
Yeah.
Yeah, 17-14. Because we were up. Randy Moss caught the last touchdown. It was 14-7. No, 14-10.
Yeah.
Because they were up.
The Giants were up 10-7, and then about 2 minutes or something left. New England took a 14-10 lead, and that's in that same game that was in the drive with David Tyree caught the ball on the side of his helmet. He never played. He never caught another pass after that. That was like the last NFL down he ever played, I think.
He got famous out that one catch. The one catch alone.
Never caught another ball. I don't think he ever played another down after that.
I think the most key drive in that series anyway was that dropped interception by Asante Samuels, which was a clear interception because Eli threw it right in his hand and he just muffed it out.
And that's
Then
why
the sack,
it's a
yeah,
corner. It's a corner,
yeah,
not a receiver.
that's right. They don't have a bit of hands, but they can cover.
All right.
And let's talk about the last team at the bottom, which was the recent team, the 15-1 Carolina Panthers from 2015.
I don't even
Uh,
want to talk about that.
I know, man. I understand it's heartbreaking, but it's part of that rings list. That's some of the greatest teams to never win it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased towards that team anyway. So I mean,
Yeah, 15-1. I finished the year number one in offense. I think it was number 5 in defense or 6.
like six. I think they finished sixth.
Um,
Sixth in total defense. Yeah.
ran through the NFC like wildfire.
Yep. Beat the
Got to
Seahawks. Beat the Cardinals.
and get to the Super Bowl. And yeah, I mean, if you know, you know.
You met Von Miller.
Yeah, that was a pass rush. Let me tell you something. That defense wasn't bad for them to do what they did to us. And I mean, we
Yeah,
weren't high
they,
power potent as Carolina, but we could
they
score the
beat.
point.
Yeah, they beat New England the week before, like 20-12 or something like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
20. Yeah, 20 to 12, 18 to 20, something like that. It was close.
it
Either
might have been
way,
20. Yeah, I think y'all scored again, went for 2 and didn't get it, so it was like 20-18. It was something like that. And then
yeah,
they beat us 24-10. We couldn't block Von Miller, couldn't block DeMarcus Ware either, but
yeah.
couldn't run the ball either. And damn Mike Remmers, the tackle, he played in the Super Bowl last year against Tampa Bay
They, yep,
when Schwartz got hurt.
hurt.
And
Yep.
so that's twice in the Super Bowl. Well, I think Mike Remmers cost Kansas City the Super Bowl last year, and I think he cost us one. So when I felt Kansas City's pain because that's twice that he got bodied in the Super Bowl. But, oh well, go ahead.
No limit. What's going on, Gucci? What's up? All right, so we got our teams. So what I was gonna do, I'm break it down, just like this was the NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship game.
All right.
So we're gonna start with the AFC first. 90 Bills versus the 07 Patriots.
I'm gonna go 07 Patriots.
I'm leaning that way too. 07 Patriots. High power offense. I don't think Buffalo's defense at the 90 defense probably. I mean, but what's his name? Smith.
Yeah, Bruce Smith.
Yeah, Bruce Smith. I can't get his first name out. So I know it's Smith. Generates pass rush. I'm pretty sure he can get there, but I don't think it's gonna be enough for them to actually stop. Now, as far as them scoring, they might could get a little. They're not gonna get as close. I can see it being 2 touchdowns.
Well, that New England team had a good defense too. I mean, because that Buffalo team leaned more on the run to Thurman Thomas. Yeah,
Reed,
Reed's a receiver. I mean, he's a receiver. Yeah. Reed was the receiver, but it was predicated on Thurman Thomas' ability to run the ball. So I don't think New England would have just let Thurman Thomas beat him. So I'm going 07 Patriots.
07 Patriots it is. That's for the AFC. Now for the NFC, you got the high-powered 98 Vikings versus the 2015 Carolina Panthers.
I'm going 2015 Panthers. I think I'll take Newton over Cunningham. I think that'll be the difference.
I'm probably gonna go with the Vikings. I'm go with the Vikings. And
they couldn't even get out NFC.
I was just gonna say that because of I feel like they'll generate the pass rush because I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure how good that line was for the 98 Vikings. I mean, it had to be pretty decent, but not. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that good. Carolina's was okay at best, if I put it that way.
Yeah, I think okay.
Now, as far as covering the receivers, as far as offense versus defense, I would have to go with the Vikings receivers over the Carolina secondary.
I agree.
I mean, as far as receiving now the running, Carolina can stop the run, so Robert Smith wouldn't really do anything to make a difference in the game.
And we would have been able to run on them too. We had D'Angelo was gone at the time. We had Jonathan Stewart and we had Newton himself back there as well, and you had Mike Tolbert. A lot of times we ran Philly Brown on end rounds and stuff like that too. I think we'd have been able to run the ball on him, and I think Newton would have been able to hit him with play action.
I think the only I would say the only defensive lineman I've seen was a threat on that team was John Randall. That's probably it.
But you got to understand, even when you talk about those receivers, that Arizona Cardinals team that we beat in the NFC Championship game had Larry Fitzgerald,
Yeah,
who will be a Hall of Famer, Anquan Bolden, who's a borderline Hall of Famer, and then John Brown, who's one of the fastest vertical receivers in the league. They had a three-headed monster receiver, and they only scored 15 points on us because we were able to get them uncomfortable with Carson Palmer, and we beat them 49-15. So, and we had the best middle linebacker in all of professional football too. I think, and had speed on defense. So yeah, they may have had receivers, but it's like, would Cunningham been able to get the ball to them?
Good question.
Kind of like Larry Fitzgerald.
I'm gonna say and no, because I feel like he'll be able to get the ball out in some cases, but I don't know how it would land, considering that Randy Moss can pretty much catch pretty good. Now I'm not gonna say he's gonna get there. He could underthrow it and get picked up.
Right. We're playing home. We're playing Tampa too, and when I look at it, you had Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden there. I'm talking about similar. I know that Larry Fitzgerald's a different style of player than Randy Moss. So I'm talking about that Cardinals team had the best receiving core in all of football, at least many thought that year, and thought that was the team that was going to really give us trouble. And I think when that game in Charlotte, here's the thing: if the game's at the Metro, would have been at the Metrodome, then I would give the edge to Minnesota with that crowd. If the game gonna be out in the grass, out in the dirt, right? Because a lot of those dome teams, like even the Saints. What's up, player?
What's up,
a lot of those guys, those teams don't play well when you get them out in the elements. Like throughout the years, the Saints didn't play that well outdoors. Drew Brees on them, you get them outdoors, there was always a drop off when you got them outdoors versus when they were in that dome. I think if the game's in Charlotte in a game in January in Charlotte, I think. Yeah, I would pick us. If we're going up there to the dome, it's gonna be tough to win. So
now I say this, okay. I'm glad you brought that outside part with that. So we're gonna use January.
I'm gonna give you another example. Of just because you got elite receivers. The St. Louis Rams in 2003 against another Carolina Panthers team had Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. Two All-Pro Hall of Fame receivers, and we still won that game. So and you said, and with the team that team went to Super Bowl too, but wasn't as good as this 2015 team. So that's a prime example. Just because you got elite receivers doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the game.
I agree. I'm just taking points, key facts. But I will go back to the what you were saying about
Doug Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse. Go ahead.
I'll go back to what you were saying about the January thing with them. If Minnesota had to come to Carolina in January, Now, considering that they are a dome team, majority of the teams that they play in the NFC Central, I would say around the November, December range, they have to, minus Detroit, they would have to go to Green Bay.
And Chicago.
In Chicago. And I mean, at the time it was Central, which was Green Bay.
Tampa Bay was in Central back then.
Central then, yeah. So that'd have been the only thing that wouldn't have been in cold weather. But minus Detroit because they were in a dome too. So you had Chicago and Green Bay, which I mean the temperatures do get pretty cold here, but I know up there you're gonna get a good cold game. So I'm not saying that they wouldn't lose if they came to Carolina in January, but I don't think it would really bother them as much. Say if you put a Drew Brees in that situation coming to Carolina in January, I would think it'd bother him.
Yeah, because they're down in New Orleans. Yeah. And before then, he played with the Chargers. So I mean, you're talking about San Diego.
So, there you go. So he never actually played on a team that was in a cooler climate, sort of say.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I'm just using that now. That's the fact that I got. Now I'm not saying they would win, but I'm not gonna say they would come in and shake them up either.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm biased. I'm going Carolina.
If you had unbiasedly choose, you still take Carolina?
I'm still taking Carolina.
Still taking Carolina. Okay. We'll go with Carolina.
I'm about to say, because you got to realize, it's kind of hard for me to go back. Going back to 1998, I didn't have the understanding of football that I have now because I was a kid and I didn't
Yeah,
play and I didn't play ball like you did. So at that
yeah.
point in 1998, I'm just like a casual fan watching. It's not like I'm taking it. I'm not analyzing it and
Isn't it
processing it all.
like
Whereas
you are now?
yeah,
Yeah,
whereas in 2015 when I was watching the Panthers, I had the full understanding of football, all the nuances and everything. So like I tell everybody, for a guy who never played it down, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable
yeah,
of the
you are.
of the nuances of the game. So at that point, I have a better understanding. My memory is going to serve me better in 2015 because not only am I'm watching and processing, understanding what's going
Yeah.
on, versus having to go back and look at YouTube and try to remember what happened in 1998. Because if you look at the 1998 Vikings, the only team they had a bye and then they beat the Arizona Cardinals, a very weak Arizona Cardinals team, a 9-7 Arizona Cardinals team that
With the
upset.
Aeneas Williams.
Yeah, but that's all they had down. Jake Plummer was the quarterback. They they upset the Dallas Cowboys in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah, all you Cowboy lovers that might be listening, they upset them in the first round of the playoffs, and then that was the first playoff win for the Arizona Cardinals since 1948, back when they were the
Ooh,
Chicago Cardinals, and then later on
ooh.
the Phoenix, then later on the St. Louis Cardinals, and then the Phoenix Cardinals / Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, and then Minnesota beat them 41-21 the next week at Hubert H. Humphreys Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which no longer exists.
Yep,
And then the next week they got upset at home by the Atlanta Falcons, another dome team.
yep.
So if you look at like in the playoffs, like who did they beat? At least that Carolina Panthers team beat an elite Seattle team and beat an
Yeah,
elite Arizona team in
Arizona
back-to-back
team.
weeks. Yeah, so
So they beat
you
two
can
good NFC West teams, which was, that division was really that was the basically that was majority of the teams in the playoffs anyway out of the NFC West.
yeah, because did San Francisco get in that year? I don't think San Francisco got in that year, but they went like 8-8 that year.
They
But 9-7 or something like that. They had a decent team. It's just that the division was so loaded to where
I'm trying to think
everybody
who
can.
got in there. Yeah, I think it was. I know Carolina was the number
I tell
one.
you, I know I can do it right off the top of my head. The 1 and 2 seeds that got to buy is Carolina was number 1, got to buy. Arizona's number 2, got to buy.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 versus 6 game was the Minnesota Vikings versus the Seattle Seahawks. That was
Yep.
when Teddy Bridgewater was quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings.
It was 9-10, I think.
12-10.
It was 12-10. Okay.
No, you're right. It was 10-9 because Minnesota had a chance to win at 12-10 and do Mr. 27-yarder, Blair Walsh, Mr. 27-yarder. And then the 4 or 5 game was the team that was then known as the Washington Redskins versus the Green Bay Packers. And I remember Washington won the division, so Green Bay was a wild card, and because Minnesota won the North, and so Arizona beat Green Bay in overtime when Larry Fitzgerald made an amazing catch and run in overtime.
It was like 47. That was a high school. I think when that year they scored all them points, it was like 45.
It was like 37-34 or something like that. And then Carolina beat Seattle in the division round. That set up the Carolina versus Arizona. And I'm not. And by the way, anybody can see me know I'm not looking this up. Just straight off the top of my head. You see my hands.
Yo,
hands
Trey,
free.
what's up, baby?
What's happening, player? What's happening? So, and anybody see me? See that I'm not looking this up. Just straight from the dome.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's why I said I didn't know who. I knew Carolina and Arizona were the 2, 1 and 2. I do remember that.
Yeah. Seattle was the 6th seed because Seattle got off to a slow start. They got off to a 2-4 start that year, but they rallied to go 10-6.
Because that's when Carolina went to Seattle and beat them in Seattle.
Yeah, in the regular season, we're down 23-14 with like 4 minutes left, and rallied back. Cam Newton caught Greg Olsen off the on a tight end post back in the end zone. To win the game. And then we beat them.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a good game, dude. Regardless, if they would have lost that game, that was still a good game. You see some hitting at that time. I say they were the 2 hardest hitting defenses.
Yeah, because
in that time.
That had become a rivalry anyway, Panthers Seahawks during that era, and that game had a lot of playoff intensity to it because you had Seattle's defense that was kind of revered as the best. You had Carolina's defense who was wanting that same respect. And that's why when you had guys like Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, and to a lesser extent Shaq Thompson, he was the starter over there on the other side. But I mean, he's just kind of just there. He's playing well now, but I mean, it took long enough. But at that time, he was a rookie, and you had the other guy, AJ Klein. He and AJ Klein kind of split those snaps. I like
He
AJ
had
actually.
Klein play for that was Blackburn. Which one was it? One of them came for the Giants. I do remember he played on the
The
Super
Black
Bowl.
does Blackburn came from the Giants. He's the
Yeah.
special teams coordinator now, I think. Chase
Oh,
Blackburn.
okay.
He's Carolina's special teams coordinator.
So for the sake of argument, we'll go with Carolina, the 2015 Panthers versus the 2007 New England Patriots.
I'm going with the 2007 New England Patriots.
Agreed. And that's not because I'm biased. It's because that team was a different animal. Offensively,
Now, granted, to play devil's advocate, Belichick's defenses have always had a hard time stopping.
Cam Newton.
Yeah, but if we're talking about the 2007 Patriots, that team is just so loaded. I don't know. I think the game would have been close, and I think it would have been high scoring. But I still think that in the end, I think New England would have come away with it. Even if it came down to a Gostkowski kick to win it, I still think because
New
Vinny
England
Jerry was
cool.
gone at the time. I think
Yeah.
they're number one in a Super Bowl against Tom Brady. It's hard to get calls. They get away with it. I know you're biased, but New England gets away with a lot. They get away with a lot of defensive holes. And on offense, they get away with pick plays like hell. I've seen so many times they used to run pick plays with Wes Welker, run pick plays with Julian Edelman, and they would not call pass interference, offensive pass interference. And you can see the other receiver engaging in a block while the ball is in the air and blocking the DB while the ball is in the air. And I'm like, offensive pass interference is a pick. You can't. And then they're like, well, it's a rub route. I'm like, it's a pick. You can't.
Pick.
That's all. I tell you, no school
let
get
me,
away
let me
with that.
explain to you how that rub route works. That's not a rub route. That's definitely a pick. I'm not being biased. Not being that is definitely a pick. Because on the rub route, you got to actually keep going. You're running, and when you back, you actually got to turn your body kind of like back shoulder almost. So you
Man,
actually don't stop.
all you gotta do is just don't engage with him. Just if you just get in his way, then
But
it's the
see
same effect.
that's the thing. So now they can use that now a lot in situations because they can say the real right because all the defense is up in the end zone. So they
Yeah,
can say, oh, I got caught up.
but yeah, but
I
if
mean,
you
that's how they use it.
yeah, but when you engage, that's offensive pass interference.
It
And
is.
New England's been doing that for years and just getting away with it. And I'm sitting there like, and I tell you, high school, Chesterfield High School, they used to get away with it like hell too. Chesterfield Golden Rams, for all my cousins down there in Chesterfield, F the Chesterfield Golden Rams. But they, the Chesterfield Golden Rams used to get away with that. Like, I remember one time they were playing up in Anson, and man, they were just running pick, and Anson's DBs are pitiful. And it was just like, oh, I'm like, just run through him, man.
I've I actually seen Friday. I
Yeah,
want to talk about let's segue into that too. But
we're waiting. But our defense and Ralph, this is nothing personal, but our defensive backfield is horrible, and I'm sure you know it. And that's not a diss; it's just the truth. But go ahead, Nick.
So we were taking the 07 Patriots over the 15 Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be practical here.
Now, if I mix it up, I want to try this one out because I want to see how this will actually work. And I know one of them's going to probably be a lopsided, and the other one's probably going to be a close game. So I'm going to try. I'm going to take the 15 Panthers, and I want to put them against the 90 Bills.
I don't know, man. It's hard for me just to count a 15-1 team out, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, to go through a 16-game NFL season and win 15 games, that's still pretty remarkable. So that means you got a good team.
Yeah.
And I mean, you had a quarterback that won MVP. Jim Kelly never won league MVP, which
nope.
And you could argue that Jim Kelly was probably a decent quarterback, but you could also argue that he may not have been. See, and I hate to beat a dead horse because I get into this every time I talk about quarterbacks. When it comes to Jim Kelly, yeah, he had a great O-line, had a great defense, a great running back, Hall of Fame receiver. But was he really that great? Or I mean, you got Thurman Thomas behind you, you got a heck of an O-line, you got a heck of a defense, you got Andre Reed at receiver. Was he really that great? And then if you look at his numbers, I know the game was played they ran more then, but his numbers aren't anything gaudy. He never won a Super Bowl. I mean, looked like he must have been a choke artist. I mean, as many times he lost. I know I'm contradicting what I said earlier. My point was you had opportunities, and so I'm like, it's more when we think about Jim Kelly now, it's more from a point of nostalgia.
So,
When we
Wendell,
look
you taking the 90 Bills over the 2015 Panthers? I gotta ask because he was like 90 Bills.
it
Are
sounds like
you?
it.
I can't take. I honestly, I'm not. I'm taking Carolina by a lot, not
I am
by a
too.
little bit.
So am I. So am I. And to be frank about, I was a toddler in 1990. I can't tell you what the 90 Bills were really doing unless I went back and looked at film. But
Yeah, I actually had to look at some of the actual games.
like Nick, like folks, for y'all listen, Nick and I are 33 years old. We were born 7 days apart, so
Yep.
we grew up together. We were both babysat together and everything. So we're longtime friends. We were born absolutely. So we're both the exact same age, born 7 days apart. So that lets you know. Yeah, they have Bruce Smith. I get that. I'm not knocking Bruce Smith. I think Bruce Smith's a great player. I think the defense. I think it probably would have been a defensive game. Um, you could put a tight end over there to chip him, keep a back there to chip him.
That's
I'm
about it.
I'm,
You know, I mean,
I'm
if you,
still
I'm still taking the Panthers by a lot.
yeah. I think that Carolina and see that Carolina's defense got a lot of takeaways that year, so they were able to score a lot of points on pick sixes, fumble sixes, scoop fumbles for
And they
touchdowns,
were
stuff
able
like.
to put pressure on the quarterback. So
Right. So when you take the culmination of all those things, Carolina was able to score not only on offense, but they scored a lot on defense too.
defense too,
When
yeah.
so when you factor that into the picture, that's another reason I would take Carolina.
Like
Out
I
of
said, I take when I get you Bruce Smith, but I'm taking Carolina by a lot. Bruce Smith ain't the Buffalo Bills, so I'm taking Carolina by a lot. Plus, Jim Kelly is not Cam Newton. That's
No,
it.
and that's what I was getting, especially Cam at his peak. Jim
Yeah.
Kelly, Jim Kelly to me is a guy we look at with nostalgia. He's a traditional quarterback, and he's always going to be viewed with reverence because of he fits that mold of historically what people like in a quarterback, and he was surrounded by great players. So I mean, it makes me wonder if you put him somewhere else, could he actually carry a team? So who knows?
I'm gonna be honest. You can't
Yeah,
take Cam Newton up there to Orchard Park and let him run loose. He's gonna run loose, and he's gonna
if he
throw.
if he played with Buffalo. If he played Buffalo now, that'd be good because you got to realize Josh Allen's basically the same type player.
Player, yeah. I said, yeah. Josh Allen is the
Josh Allen's the pro that we thought
prototype of
Carson Wentz.
Cam
Yeah, and Carson Wentz before he got hurt and stuff. Carson Wentz was the same way. It was that same prototype. So
Yeah,
it's people don't like to hear that, and that's because. But Josh Allen is a dual threat quarterback, a big dual threat guy like Newton, and his
he
game
is.
they run the offense similar to the same way and use them the same way. People don't want to hear that because it doesn't fit the narrative of what they want to hear.
But I mean,
Because
you
of
gotta look at it. Look who the coach is. He came from where?
Carolina, Sean McDermott, yeah. So
Thank you.
you know, I like I said, Carson Wentz, who's injured all the time, but especially Josh Allen, very similar mold to Cam Newton. They want to they want to run that ball down your throat. They want to take shots downfield with play action,
Yep.
and then get the quarterback on the motor, and that's what Josh Allen does.
And let me tell you something. Buffalo can put up some points too. From what I've been seeing this year, they may not play a lot of good teams. They've been putting the points up.
They're going to win the
definitely
East.
putting up the points.
They're going to win the East. They're going to win the AFC East by a
Of
mile.
course, I'm not gonna argue that. And right now, yeah, they are because we ain't gonna win it. we can't even.
No,
We can't even stop
New,
dipping and dunking.
New England's not even going to make. New England's not even going to make the playoffs. So
If we make the playoffs, it's because it's got to be a miracle. Some other division got to really be fucking up for us to get in there. That's the
oh
only
geez,
way I see it. It'll be a wild card.
hey, I'm gonna be. What did Jim Morris Senior say? Playoffs. Playoffs.
I gotta
You
find
kidding me? Playoffs.
I gotta find that video to put on my
Like they never show the whole thing. There's a part of him in that video where they don't show where he said, "What are you smoking on? We're 4-6." Yeah, he even said that. He was like, I just hope we win another game.
I like when they put it in the I think what was it, the Coors Light commercials?
Yeah. They put Denny Green. They did one with Denny Green too, with They Are Who We Thought They Were.
You know who we thought they were.
Yo, you know what's crazy about the one with Denny Green? No, but seriously, with the one with Denny Green, you know what's so crazy about that? I saw that game, and if you remember that game and saw that game, you will see why he was that mad. The
It was
Arizona
Monday
Cardinals,
night against the Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears. The
Yep.
the Cardinals were. Let me tell you, I watched that game. I was in college. I was downstairs at Holzhauser Hall watching it with my buddies at UNC Charlotte.
Mhm.
This was in 2006. Matt
Yep.
Leinart and Kurt Warner were splitting time, but Leinart played in that particular game. They were up 23-3 with
Three.
six
Yep.
minutes with 6 minutes left. They
Mhm.
did, their defense did not surrender touchdown. They give Chicago scored 3 non-offensive touchdowns. The first one was a block punt, I think, that went back for a touchdown. The
Touchdown, yeah.
the other was a sack fumble. Now the other was a punt return that Devin Hester took back to the house. One may have been a fumble. Anyway, it was like either a fumble or something. If it wasn't a block punt or something, it was a turnover that went back, a takeaway that went back for a touchdown. Then Devin Hester, with about 3 minutes left, took a punt return back for a touchdown. And then late in the game, Matt Leinart got sacked and strip sacked and fumbled the ball, and they
But I
got
think it was
scooped up
Brian
on that
Earl.
touchdown. Yeah, and it could have been Lance Briggs, I don't know. But the score ended up being 24-23. So you're up 23-3 with 6 minutes left, and your defense doesn't give up a score. They couldn't run the ball. They had Edgerrin James, but the line couldn't get no push, and they couldn't get a first down.
Nope.
All they needed, one first down, that game would have been over.
And we let them off the hook. They are
Yeah.
who we thought they were.
Hey, and God rest the soul of Coach Dennis Green.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dennis Green, he was the coach of that '98 Vikings team that we're talking about. So,
Oh yeah, coach. I think that was his very first head coaching job.
yeah, it was. He was a Bill Walsh disciple. God rest Bill Walsh's soul too.
Yep.
Then he got Minnesota to 2 NFC Championship games, got into that one, and then they lost to the Giants in 2000. 2000, yeah, in 2000 they got killed by the
41-0.
yeah, by the Giants, led by the SOB Kerry Collins, coached by Jim Fossil, Tiki Barber, the running back, Amani Toomer, and Ike Hilliard, the wide receivers.
Yep. Was Shockey there yet?
Nah, Shockey didn't get there until 2002. Shockey was at the U at that time.
Yeah.
Man, him and his backup was Kellen Winslow Jr. Now that's stat. When Shockey's your tight end and Kellen Winslow Jr. is your backup.
Two all-pro tight ends.
Frank Gore's your running back. Willis McGahee is your backup, and Clinton Portis was there. They had Clinton Portis, Frank Gore, and McGahee 1 year at the same time, but one of them just got most of the carries. That's crazy, man.
The only thing that didn't really played out in the NFL was the quarterback.
Ken Dorsey. Yeah, then he was the quarterbacks coach here in Carolina for a little while. Remember that when we had Ken Dorsey's QB coach?
Yep. That's what I said. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm biased. I know it's off topic, but I put that 0-1 team against the NFL team.
Okay, that's silly. I mean, but they were stacked.
Minus the quarterback. With the defense.
I don't ever like to do that. People used to say that about USC when they had Reggie Bush, and then people said that about Alabama. I'm not going to go that far, but still, that
Alabama of an NFL team at this point.
I wouldn't. You got to realize a lot of guys that you got to look at this. Whoever the worst NFL team is, got a bunch of guys who are All Americans in college.
That's true. You ain't lying about that part. That is true.
Like whoever goes 1-16 this year are full of guys who are All Americans who played in the SEC and all that.
That's true. They're just in a bad situation in professional level.
Well, think about it. In professional, everybody's good. So here's the thing: if someone say, "Oh, he was really fast in college," in the NFL, everybody's fast. And when Julius Peppers is 6'7", 295 pounds, and in his heyday ran a 4.4. Warren Sapp ran a 4.5 in his heyday. You got to realize you got big 300 something. Right. So my point is, in the NFL, everybody's fast. Everybody's big. Everybody's strong, especially compared to college. You got to realize not everybody who plays for Alabama gets drafted. They got plenty of guys who don't get drafted, who are undrafted free agents who don't make it, who are starters too, or who might get drafted but don't turn out to be superstars as well. So you got to realize when you're putting that against an NFL team, the majority of the players in the NFL were All-American, All-Conference, whatever, when they were in college.
Well, that's definitely showing that quarterback for us right now.
That's like saying back in the day, if you're gonna say that Independence's football could beat Duke's football, that'd be ridiculous to say that. Right. My point is because everybody who were playing at Duke were still probably all conference and the best players, some of the best players in their high school programs, and so you're talking. And so that's absolute silliness because you got a team full of D1 athletes. That Independence team wasn't full of D1 athletes, but they had D1 guys like Mario Rayleigh, Chris Leak.
Yeah, Muhammad
Um,
Master
that
Squad.
was, my squad didn't play with Leak though. At least not at the start. He played with Joe Cox, but yeah, they had Muhammad. But even Hakeem in later years, I remember Hakeem Nixon was a backup to Massaquoi. He was a backup tight end and then when Massaquoi left, then they
Who was the
Nixon then
running back
started.
that year? Chris Leak was there. They had a pretty good running back, even though they passed the ball a lot.
Yeah, they still went for 1,000. Mario Crow.
Yeah. I know they had a good running back that year.
That man, and that in 2001 in that regional championship game against East Mecklenburg, Mario Crow ate them alive. Man, he ran for like 4 touchdowns, like 200 yards, something like that. So, they could run. Yeah, they could run the ball. They could throw the ball. They could stop the running. They could stop the pass. They had a great offense, great defense, great special teams, great coaching. That
And Madden Tommy Knox is still doing this
down in Dutch Fork. But
Yep.
I'll say that. But the best team they had, and to me, I'll even say that this is the best team in the state that came in the state that came out of the state of North Carolina. That 04 Independence team, the one that had with Joe Cox, a quarterback, my squad, one receiver, Billy Wiggins at the other one, and they had Abdul Rahim Malik at the running back position.
Yep.
Man, that team was stacked. I remember they played Richmond County, beat them 47-19. And the 19 came in garbage time. They were up 47-7, and that's when Richmond County was stacked. They had Norman Whitley and guys like that.
Norman Whitley,
Marcus Rush was gone that time. I'm trying to think. Did they have Melvin Ingram and some of that crowd? Melvin would have been like the ninth.
Yeah. Marcus Rush left in 03.
Yeah. So Norman Whitley's first year as a starter was 04, and so Melvin would have been like in the ninth grade because Melvin's a year younger than us. So Melvin, and for those listening, yes, that Melvin Ingram, he was a wide receiver at Richmond Senior High School. Yes, the defensive end / linebacker Melvin Ingram was a wide receiver at Richmond Senior High School.
It was
yeah, but in that game against Anson in 2006, he did not catch that ball in the back of the end zone. He bobbled that ball in the corner of the end zone, but they gave him a touchdown anyway. But that's neither here nor there.
You know how that goes.
But that was a little bit before me. That's when they had I'm wondering if they still had Jamar Bryant at that time, or was he gone? I know the year before when they beat them 20-18, they had Jamar because they moved Jamar to receiver and they moved Brent Smith to quarterback. Yo, Brent Smith, what's going on, boy? He might. I don't know if I ever sent him the link, but I know Brent Smith been on him a long time, former Richmond Senior quarterback. So shout out to Brent Smith. But they moved Brent to quarterback and let Jamar Bryant, former East Carolina wide receiver and originally a Georgia commit, Jamar Bryant, they moved him to receiver. And the Independents struggled to find an answer to that the year before, and they ended up being 20-18. Tony Swells missed a 21-yard field goal that would have won the game with like 6 left. But the next year, that next year they got bodied. And that 04 Independence team could beat any Mallet Creek team, could beat any Vance / Chambers team, could beat any Butler team, could beat any Richmond Senior team, could beat any New Bern Bears team, could beat any Shelby Golden Lions team, could beat. I'm trying to think of any of the elite, and of either Carolina could beat any Gaffney teams. Could beat any Dutch Fort teams. Well, Dutch Fort didn't get good until Knox got there. Could beat any Duncan Burns. They could beat Dylan Burns. Yeah, any of them.
Down in that Myrtle Beach, that coast, on that coast,
even could beat any Somerville's powerhouse too. Could beat any Somerville team. Any of those squads. Any of them.
Yeah, that team was the truth. I don't care what you say, and I'm going to agree with them because I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it with my own freaking eyes.
Right, and if you try to say otherwise, your nose gonna grow.
Yep, it's gonna grow. It's gonna grow probably long as
Pinocchio?
Yeah, I'm saying Pinocchio.
I don't know where you're getting at, but this is a family show, and let's leave it at that.
We'll leave it at a family show. That's what it was. But yeah, and people that don't know Norman Whitley, I mean, he didn't never go up in
East Carolina. He went to East
Carolina. He went to East Carolina, but he didn't go. I don't think he went to professional ball after he finished school.
At least not in the National Football League. At least.
No, I mean, he might have went and played somewhere overseas or in Canada or something like that. But he was a freaking. Well, I can say he was freaking. But I remember from middle school, that dude was just as good then as he was now.
He was a freak of nature. Let's get it straight. In high school, he was darn near unstoppable.
Yeah, he was. I don't know how he do it, but man, every time he hits if they ran like a off tackle dive, that summons would get so low, and he would
Yeah,
get
because
right past the defensive
he had
line. He
low,
could
he
back
had
in and
had a low center of gravity,
yeah,
and he had good burst. So when he hit the line, he hit it with a
run.
burst,
He could run. Like he had what
and
a
his
running
top
back had.
yeah, it
Like,
had top end speed too. So when he hit the top end of his speed, you weren't going to catch him.
I'm sorry. Like it was amazing to see, man. Even though he did it in middle school, like it's just when he got that tackle, he would just it's and you got it's kind of like Emmitt Smith used to do. He was so
Yeah,
short anyway.
but Emmett was more. When I think of Emmitt Smith, I don't think of Emmitt Smith as shooting out of a cannon. I look at Emmitt Smith as more of a patient runner, like a
Yeah,
guy. He had a great O line and a guy who's patient, knew when to hit the hole, and then and would get there. Duncan Murray's a great running back, a Hall of Famer, rightfully so. So I'm not trying to take away from Emmett, but I don't think it's Emmett as
no.
that like as a flashy back where you hand it to him, he just shoot through there like a cannon. I didn't look at like a Barry Sanders. I look at him more as he was a patient guy, a
Yeah,
smart, cerebral running back
mhm.
who would let things develop and knew how to follow his
Mhm.
blockers.
Yeah. He's playing chess, not checkers, baby.
To me, I think Mark Ingram is a poor man's Emmitt Smith. Now, don't get it
Agreed.
twisted. I'm not saying that Mark Ingram is good as Emmitt Smith. Mark Ingram's a good back, but he's not Emmitt
I get.
Smith. But I'm talking about, but in that he runs similar in that same built similar, runs similar in that same vein as an Emmitt Smith.
I tell you somebody else that used to do it before they fell off.
Who?
Like Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, but Le'Veon had agility though.
Yeah, he can sit there and he'll stop right there at the back of the line and then he'll make his move. He will wait.
Le'Veon had like that mixture of Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, like that ability to cut back and make flash
Back.
moves, but
Yeah.
had that patience, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
patience that I think he still plays. He just need to get in a good situation. Like with the Jets when he went there, it's like I mean, and then the Chiefs already then he went to Chiefs. They already had a crowded backfield, so it wasn't anywhere.
Yeah.
If you put him in the situation, if we took him to Carolina right now, because all you especially when you not know him when McCaffrey in and out, he'll be fine with us. But
And he perfect to have. I think he'd be a complimentary back for
yeah,
Christian McCaffrey. It
it's
takes
just
some
that
of
do
that
you
workload off of him.
yeah, but the thing about it, they want to give McCaffrey the workload because they keep trying to justify that draft pick. And
But that's
McCaffrey's
he's
good,
gonna
but
shorten his career like that. Now I'm gonna be
yeah,
real. He's definitely gonna shorten
yeah,
his career. And you know,
I
on
get
average, a running back does not have a long career anyway.
and that's because they don't manage him right.
Right. Yeah.
But because like you take a look at Adrian Peterson, take a look at Frank Gore, they defied that. They're like the old school running backs. But because
He
they
retired yet?
who he was on somebody's
Frank
team
Gore.
last year. He was on somebody's team. I thought at least last year he was.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
thinking. He's been quiet. I don't know if he was trying to break that record or not, but I don't know. He has it, but he got a good little bit to go. He ain't
nah, I
that
mean
far.
he'll be a Hall of Famer though.
Yeah.
But when it comes to McCaffrey, what I don't like when they have him down by the goal line and it's like you run a tight formation trying to hammer him in the end zone. That's not his game. I'm like,
Mm-mm.
and like they keep trying to make him something that he's not. He's a great runner, but that's not a part of his game. And quit trying to. He's not
He
built for
wearing
that.
Nah, he wearing them out, man. Honestly, they need to get a back that can do that kind of stuff. Like you said,
They should have kept.
Le'Veon Bell would be perfect for that.
They should have kept Mike Davis.
Yep, that's who they should have kept. Now he down in Atlanta playing. I don't know if he playing halfback or tailback because Cordell Patterson playing one.
You talking about Cordero Patterson, from Rock Hill?
Yeah,
You
for
talking the
Tennessee.
kick returner? The kick
Yeah.
returner. Yeah, he's
Mm-hmm.
from Rock Hill. He played
Yeah.
at Northwestern High. He played at Northwestern High School in Rock Hill.
Yeah. He playing. They got him playing
Yeah.
tailback formation in Atlanta, and he been running
So
the shit out the ball.
yeah, I work with a lot of people from Rock Hill, so a lot of them remember Cordero Patterson and know him personally and stuff. So.
Great college player. I mean, he's a good NFL player too. I'm not gonna take that away from him either.
Tennessee teams in recent years, though, they've been all right. Like when they whatever happened to Marquez? Whatever happened to Marquez North? You remember him? A receiver. Marquez North. He played. He was a big time prospect out of Mallet Creek. He played at University of Tennessee. He originally was quarterback at Lumberton, and then he moved from Lumberton to Charlotte and went to Mallet Creek and played receiver, and then he got recruited to Tennessee.
Will Terrell Davis be a runner in running back?
If he'd played long enough, he would.
Yeah.
He played 7 years, only had 4 where he was healthy. So
Yeah.
I
Now, if you talking in that, now if you saying he was top 10 in that year that he played 1 or 2 championships, yeah, I say
yeah,
that.
you can say if you want to say in his best years, were those best years worthy of being a top 10 running back? Yes, I'm talking about if you want to go by his best years, but to be considered top 10, you got to have longevity, and his body didn't allow him to.
Down to yeah. After that, them 2 Super Bowls, I think. Yeah, I think that what 2 years later, that's when he tore his knee, and that was it. And
Yeah,
then
and Denver, and he was great. But you got to realize the Mike Shanahan system. It was you got to look at running backs numbers as inflated there with Denver because with that zone blocking scheme they were using in all of their running backs. One of them years they had Mike Anderson who was a fullback and they put him at tailback. He went for 1,500 yards. One year they picked up Orlando. One year they had Orlando Gary who's a effing nobody. He went for 1,100 yards. I remember one year they had damn Reuben Drones.
yeah, I
This is
remember
well
Ruben
after
Jones.
this is after they traded Clinton Portis and they started Reuben Drones.
Where
People that is,
Wisconsin Ruben Jones come from? Was it Wisconsin?
I don't know where the F that
No,
dude
that's
from,
Ron
but
Dane. I'm thinking about Ron Dane.
yeah, but Ron Dane went to Wisconsin bust. But they had dang on Reuben Drones went for 1,200 yards.
Big
Yes,
drum.
Reuben Drones.
Not
Like,
drunk. Well, with a D, drunk.
yeah, and I'm sure most people are like, who in the world are y'all talking about? But yeah,
Ruben Jones.
Google
You
it.
know my Ruben Jones didn't watch football
Go,
long enough.
yeah, Google Reuben Drones. Give me 1 second. Let me answer this text message, Nick.
He good, he good.
Uh,
But well, if to answer your question, Wendell, if we were basing it off the 90 between 96 and 98, yeah, he was top 10 then. Because one year he was 2,000, he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. The next year, I think he ran for 2,000 yards, and I think he ended up having over 2,400 yards total, as with playoffs and all. So yeah, I'm I'm gonna say it as that. I'm in that range between 96 and 98. Yeah, he was a top 10 back. But like T said, longevity. You know, he didn't have a long career. It ended just as soon as it began, really, because he really. I mean, honestly, if you want to be
yeah,
honest, he didn't get started like '96. So
yeah,
he
man.
honestly had like a 4 or 5 year span. Just
He had 4 years where he was effective, and then the other 3 he was battling injuries.
yeah. So and he was taking a lot of workload too. You gotta think them 3 years they were going 4 in the season. He was
Yeah,
getting most of the carries. You know, I'm pretty sure
and
Terrell
then
Davis
and
got
then,
over 30 carries
yeah,
per
and
game.
then when you brought in Brian Greasy, he had to take carries then because after Elway could kind of carry the team, but when you brought in Brian Greasy to replace Elway, that was a big drop off. So.
Listen, I want to say this. I know it's a family show, but Brian Grease is a fucking joke. I just want to put that out
Okay, is it
there.
something that he did or something?
He just trash, man. Everybody hyped him up. You don't understand. I
That's
remember
because
when I was younger, they was
he
like,
wa-
Brian Greasy,
hey
Brian Greasy.
hey, you know who he started over at Michigan, right?
Tom Brady.
Yeah, because he
Andrew
let
Henson.
yeah, and yeah, but Drew Henson started over split time.
Tom
Brady and Henson
Brady.
split time, yeah, but Drew Henson played baseball too. But on that national championship team in 1997, Brian Greasy was the starter.
Who had a case in Hall of Fame amongst his peers. He'll get
He's
there.
in
Not
all
right now.
he's in the
Oh,
Hall of
he's in
Fame
there?
already. Yeah,
Oh, I never knew it. When did he go in?
like about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe.
Okay. Oh, I say I know he was gonna be first ballot. I mean, he was gonna get in there.
He in there.
Yeah.
He been in there at least 2 or 3 years. I know he in there.
Now, if you're gonna say amongst his peers, you gotta look who's out in the Hall of Fame and played running back. So you got, of course, you got Jim Brown. You got O.J. Simpson. You
I'm about to
got.
say don't leave him out. I know.
I'm not leaving out the juice. You can't leave the juice out. Now you can't leave the what they call the electric company out. You can't leave that out.
Gonna turn on the power. Yeah. You got people like you got Franco Harris, guys like that.
Franco Harris, Eric Dickerson,
Earl Campbell.
You can't forget about the Texas Rose, Earl Campbell.
Yeah.
Who else was in that? It's we got Emmett.
Yeah, you got Barry. I mean, if you're gonna go there.
Yeah.
And then even when you get in the modern era, guys like Tomlinson and all that are in there too. Marshall Faulk, your contemporary backs, the guys who started catching the ball out the backfield. Well, when it comes to catching that backfield, I got to go back to Roger Craig, but Roger Craig's not in the Hall of Fame. But But I'm talking about Roger Craig kind of was the pioneer for that. But people like Marshall Falk and LaDainian Tomlinson exemplified it to a new level.
They say, yeah, Greasy was horrible. Yeah, Greasy was horrible. Trash. Fucking trash.
Yeah. You really hard. And he better than Jay Fiedler out there in Miami.
Oh.
You remember Jay Fiedler that took over for Dan Marino?
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, you're right.
And then they brought and then the Dolphins traded for Brian Greasy, and Brian Greasy beat Jay Fiedler out for the job. They competed for the job, and Brian Greasy took the job from Jay Fiedler down to Miami. And to see Brian Greasy, they thought it was gonna work in Miami because you got to realize he's from. Well, Miami's his hometown. Brian Greasy from Miami. His dad, Bob Greasy, was the QB of the 72 Dolphins and some other Dolphins teams too. So, and I mean, he beat Jay Fiedler out, but I wasn't saying nothing.
Basically,
did Ricky Williams quit, went to get high, and just left him down there by himself?
So basically, they were just competing to see what fuck up the most.
And just hoping that Ricky came. Ricky was like, "F this, I'm about to smoke." So,
look, in that case, I don't blame Ricky.
Hey, look, he was like Lil Yachty, who want to smoke? Hey, that should be the Street Profits theme music. They should license that and let that be their music. That Lil Yachty, who want to smoke.
That would be dope though, because that's their money.
Yeah, and you hear that song play that, who want to smoke?
They went to Raw. They went back to Raw, didn't they?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I don't. On Friday nights, I don't be home, so you know.
Yeah, I get to catch them back on Monday Night Raw.
You know, originally they were planning on splitting them up, but they changed their mind at the last second.
I thought they was. I was like, they probably gonna make Montez a single star now. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because Montez could win the Intercontinental Championship or the U.S. Championship right now if they wanted to go. Kenneth, if you're listening to Kiera, if you're listening, he got to get a little more serious. I mean, it's cool, but if he does become a single star, some of that silly New Day acting stuff, you got to chill out with it. And need to present himself more seriously. This is a guy that could be a movie star and everything because he has the look. He has a great look. He has a Hollywood look. He has the charisma. He's a great athlete. He could do it all. But it's fine with his team. But as he moves on and continues to advance and get to a higher level, he had a main event match with Roman Reigns last week on SmackDown. So they were trying him out, right? So at this point, he got to get a little more serious in his presentation, not as tongue in cheekish. You don't want to end up like the New Day. And I know Big E's WWE champion, but he's too silly. Same thing with Xavier Woods. You don't want to get labeled. You don't want to get labeled as a shucking and jiving black dude. So So he got too much potential. I want him to become a little bit more serious. He's a guy that has him and Ricky Starks remind me of each other. Ricky Starks from AEW. They kind of remind me of each other, and both of them kind of have that Rock vibe about them with their presentation, their style, and all that. They're not as big as The Rock physically, but I'm talking about style and presentation.
Style, the way they
the shades, dress, the way they dress and all that stuff. So I mean, and by the way, Private Party is a ripoff of the Street Profits, but I ain't even gonna go there. Private Party made it, but I want to see Kenneth to become a little more serious, man. I think that he's only Kenneth's only 30.
He's gonna get that push, man. I see it. I mean,
he's only 30, 31. So yeah, so I'm ready to see it, man.
So what to say? So what Cam's fate be? Let's be real. What is it? Is he being blackballed?
Yes, he's been blackballed. Yes,
yeah,
blackball. Look at how bad Ben Roethlisberger up there in Detroit. They could use him. There were rumors that
Ben Roethlisberger is hurt. Yeah, you can see in his body. He's really hurt.
There were rumors that Pittsburgh might be interested, but look, I said from the start. If you go back a month ago when he got released, I said they're going to blackball him out. I mean, you could.
It's documented.
Yeah, look at the Washington football team. Why would they not want? Look at the Houston Texans. They're playing Davis Mills, some Yahoo. You mean to tell me they couldn't use him? You mean to tell me
is your hope and savior?
Right, and look at the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa is on IR, and he ain't all that, no way. But I'm talking about he was dinking and dunking last year, and they went. Here's another comparison. Tua Tagovailoa went 6-3 as a starter last year, and he was dinking and dunking, and everybody ripped him for it. Mac Jones is 1-3 right now, dinking and dunking the same way, and he's getting praised for it. That lets you know when you're white, it's right when it comes to the quarterback position. Now, and to make a statement, this is not me trying to label a whole group of people. I'm exclusively talking about how the quarterback position is evaluated and the bias towards it. Not trying to say anything racially against any group of people. I'm talking about the bias analysis of a quarterback position and how it favors the white player and how it's analyzed. That's all I'm talking about. Now, back to the point I'm making. Tua Tagovailoa is hurt, and Miami doesn't have a quarterback. You mean to tell me that Miami can't use him? You mean to tell me that Washington can't use him? You mean to tell me that Pittsburgh can't use him? I'm like, come on now. You mean to tell me Houston can't use him? Like, at this point, it's just a clear blackballing.
It is. It's definitely a blackball.
People don't want him in the league. They don't like his presentation. They don't like how he dressed. They don't like his flamboyance, and they don't want him around. Before they didn't have a reason. Now that he's out, now it's like we're not gonna let him back in.
You would think, damn, that he the way that they treat him, you would think he did something Michael Vick did, or you would think he did something.
Yeah, man, ain't been to jail or nothing.
Yeah.
Michael Vick got back in after he killed them dang on dogs. After he got out of prison, he got back in. But it is what it is. And and that's why I say when it comes to Ron Rivera, I'm like, you lauded him and you used him as his injuries as an excuse when you got fired in Carolina. Now you got an opportunity to reunite with him if you felt that he's the person who gave you the best chance to win. And you haven't done it. Like I said, when you're down, you find out who your real friends are. Now, Mike Tomlin, and when you look at Mike Tomlin, I'm like, Mike, at the end of the day, you know what you are. And if you don't win enough ball games, you'll be reminded of what you are and who you are. And I'll leave it at that. You remember the song about Jay-Z, Young, Rich, Still. You know the song? The story of OJ, that song. Mike Tomlin, go listen to that song. And I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Still Tomlin. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so we I forgot we was talking about. Okay, so now I wanted to match up. Who was it? Okay, Minnesota 98 Vikings versus the 07 Patriots. No, we did. Remember, we just stopped. We went into a whole.
So we're saying we're actually 98 Vikings versus 07 Patriots.
Yeah,
I'm picking 07 Patriots.
Still going 07?
That team should have won the Super Bowl. They just the ball didn't bounce away. They couldn't. They're Osi Umenyiora and Michael Strahan, which is able to generate a pass rush. With that, the key to beating Brady is if you can get pressure without blitzing. And New York was able to get pressure with 4. If you can get pressure with 4, you can beat him. If you blitz him, you're not going to beat him blitzing. He'll eat your blitz live. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Same thing with Drew Brees. You don't blitz great quarterbacks will eat your blitz alive. With a great quarterback, you have to be able to get pressure with 4. And the Giants were one of the few teams that can get pressure with 4, and that's how they beat them.
Okay.
But I'm going with the 07. That team, if they'd have played anybody else, they'd have won the Super Bowl in a blowout.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it was who did they played somebody, I forgot who the Giants played the NFC Championship that year.
Green Bay.
Yep, damn sure it was, and they won in overtime.
Yep, and like 10-7 or something like that.
I think that Patriots team would have killed Green Bay.
They may have. Well, Favre would have got to throwing interceptions and stuff. I think that was.
I mean, he do that anyway.
Yeah, that was Favre's last year in Green Bay.
Yep.
It was like 3 degrees outside. They beat Green Bay and the at Lambeau. Sure did. Green Bay went 13-3 that year.
Then they went and beat Dallas. Then they beat Dallas that year too. Because Dallas was 15-1.
No, they were 13-3.
13-3.
They beat them 24-21 because or 21-17 something like that. Because Romo was driving down the field, he threw an interception in the back of the end zone at the end of the game. Sure did.
And they played the wild card game. I forgot who that was.
Give me a minute, and I'll tell you. They beat Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, because Jeff Garcia was the quarterback at Tampa Bay during that time. That's when John Gruden they had like Jeff Garcia. I'm trying to think of who was running the ball for them. That was during time they had different people in and out. John Gruden was like on his last leg then, but Jeff Garcia was the same one that T.O. said if it looked like a duck.
And they had who was running back? I think it was Cadillac and
Cadillac Williams, Cadillac Williams, the former Auburn Tiger.
Yep.
Played at Auburn under Coach Tommy Tuberville, now Senator Tommy Tuberville.
Yep.
Yeah, I ain't gonna get into Tommy Tuberville in his politics. That's conversation to go left when we talk about Tuberville and his politics.
Let's get into tomorrow night's game in Forest Hills. Anson versus Forest Hills.
Do you want me to be diplomatic or you just want me to tell the truth?
You know I like the truth.
All right. Neither one of us are any good. I'm talking about when it comes to answer for us. Both we're talking about two teams that aren't good.
Right.
It's going to come down to who makes the least mistakes, who turns it over the least, who gets the least dumb penalties. Um, I think Anson could win the game. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I think it'll be one of those 21-13 type games, 21-14, kind of like. I think it's going to be very similar to. I know
Last week.
stylistically, yeah, I'm talking as far as scoring wise. I think it's going to be that kind of game. If we protect the football, I think we'll win a close game. I think we'll win something like I'll even say something like 19-14.
Okay. This is a conference game. Then they got the quick turnaround back with Tuesday.
Against Monroe. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tricky one because the reason I say that ordinarily on paper Monroe should kill us, but Monroe had to miss a whole week with COVID. So
Yeah.
if you're not practicing anything, and this is the second time they've had to do that this year. I'm talking about Monroe. So how much rhythm are you losing in that process? I think they are playing a game tomorrow, an out of conference game. Um, so it's if you're going to beat them ordinarily, you wouldn't. If you're going to beat them when you ordinarily wouldn't, next Tuesday would be the time to do it. So who knows? You still got to play the game. And
Yeah.
I will say this: Anson is improving. I know the opponents that are not the same as we played earlier, but I can say that Union Pines and Albemarle, you can say Piedmont
Albemarle.
was a bad. But the point I'm making is that Piedmont was probably no better than this Union Pines team, and we lost them 39-8. And that was the game where Jackson wasn't there. I think we chalk a lot of that to the head coach for personal and right reasons, family reasons. He had dealing with illness in his family at the time.
Right.
He your head coach wasn't there the whole week, so your head coach wasn't there to prepare the team, wasn't there at the game. So I think you could chalk some of that as to the effort and the preparation maybe not being what it would have been had you had your head coach present. I think that does have an impact. And give Piedmont credit, they won the game. But I think if we played Piedmont now, I think it'll be a 50-50 toss-up game. So when you're looking at the improvement, they're protecting the ball better, had no turnovers last week, had limited penalties. So the effort looked better. Quarterback seems to, even whether it's against the same pass rush or not, he seems to be getting the ball out quicker and processing things quicker as well. So you are seeing improvement. Another thing, no matter what happens, when you win 2 games in a row, that could change things. That could change the oomph and the zeal that team
Yeah.
practices and prepares with and plays with, because now they're believing in what's being coached to them. Whereas when you're being coached, do this, work hard, and you still keep losing, it's easy to become discouraged. But then once you start winning, you start believing in what you're doing, and then now your confidence gets up because now you're going into games believing that you can and will win. So, and I feel like we're going to tomorrow's game with that confidence of having won 2 games in a row and improve upon that. And so one game at a time. Let's see if we can take care of that one. And then who knows what happened on Tuesday? The team may be coming to its own, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see what happens with both of those games, starting with the game tomorrow.
So what? Well, how many conference games are actually left?
Well, after Forest Hill, Monroe, Parkwood, and West Stanley are the conference games.
Okay. They should
And
definitely.
I think I'll put it like this: Monroe will be a clear-cut favorite no matter what the situation is. The rest of those games are games that I think are games where we have a puncher's chance. Well, Parkwood I think might be slightly better, but not significantly better to the point where there'll be an overwhelming favorite. They'll be a favorite, but maybe like a touchdown favorite. Like what I'm saying is a favorite, but not one that couldn't be upset by us. Whereas Monroe is considered like an overwhelming favorite. Just being frank about it. Monroe would be considered an overwhelming favorite. Parkwood would be considered a favorite, but not an overwhelming favorite. It would still be a game that if we come and play with great effort and protect the ball and execute, that you still feel like if we play at our best, that we could still upset Parkwood, and it would be considered like a mild upset. We can still compete with Park. My point is, we can still compete with Parkwood and maybe still win from Parkwood. I think we're capable of doing that. I think West Stanley, I think we're equal. I think we could beat them. Forest Hill, I think we're equal. And like I said, Monroe, I think would be a clear-cut favorite over us. I still think, even if you lose to Monroe, I still think we can finish second place in the conference and still make playoffs, and still have a winning record, and perhaps go 6-4 or something like that.
Which would be good. It'd be a good start getting to the playoffs.
Especially with a team this young that's full of freshmen and sophomores. This is a very young team. So if that happens, you have even now you got to give kudos to Ralph the way things started out, and now things are starting to get turned around. No matter who you're playing, the team could have just laid down and quit, but they've continued to persevere and starting to string some wins together. So you still got to give Ralph credit for not letting his team fold and meld it in, and not waiting too late to try to get going. So kudos to Coach Ralph Jackson, and I shouldn't call him Ralph, I should call him Coach Jackson. So forgive me for not addressing him by his proper title. You got to give Coach Jackson credit still for not letting his team mail it in and not letting him fold.
Agreed. So I think I honestly, like you said, I think Monroe would be the question mark. I want to see how that comes out. You know, considering that they had to deal with the COVID and being out, and like you said, the rhythm, if it's there, could we take advantage of that?
Exactly.
So
And then by the game being on an off date, I know it's an off date for us too, but we're the underdog. So anything that happens that's off schedule to me is a favor for the underdog. Just like when it rains, I know it rains for both teams, but to me, that typically favors the underdog because it neutralizes the advantage that the favorite has. So
agreed. Yeah,
so I think that anything off schedule or anything that happens against what was expected favors the underdog. And in this case, these young guys got a great opportunity in front of them. The thing about it, despite the horrible start to the season, everything that the team wants to accomplish is still ahead of them and still attainable. A conference championship is attainable. Of course, it would take a lot of hard work and a lot of improvement to get it. But I'm talking about, but as of today, it's still technically attainable. So playoff appearance is still attainable. All those things are still attainable. So they still, despite the bad start, they're in a position now where they can still achieve everything that they set out to achieve this year. And there's nothing else to do but if they want it bad enough, go out and do it. Listen
yep.
to what Coach Jackson, the guys, listen to what Coach Jackson is telling you. He's been there as a player himself. He was your age once. Follow the instructions that are given to you. Make good decisions in the classroom. Make good decisions away from school. Be smart with who you hang around. Make good decisions. Put in the work, and everything that you're trying to accomplish is right there. Go out there and do it. Just put the time, work, and effort into it, and it can be done. But the thing is, you have to believe in it. Now, just like I'm a believe, like as a believer in God. In order to believe in God, I also have to believe in myself because I believe God lives within me, and I believe I'm His child, and I believe you're His child, and the rest of us His children. And I always tell people this: if we're His children, we've inherited some of His power. And so the thing is, the mind has the ability to make a lot of things happen. A lot of things can manifest when you believe it in the mind, and I think that's an ability that He gives us. So when you're believing, so if you believe in Him, you need to believe in yourself too, because
Right.
you're a creation of Him. And I hope the team, in the same way that they believe in Him, I hope they believe in Himself and believe in the abilities that He's given them and opportunities, and take advantage of the opportunities that He's given them and make the best of them.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I definitely agree with that. So we at the hour and 22-minute mark. We're gonna go ahead and close out the show. Give you the floor. You know what to do.
I'm gonna try. Oh man, let's see where we're gonna take this one. Let's um, let's go with some music, man. Those of y'all who missing the nostalgic days of hip hop and don't like the current state of music now, go listen to that AZ album. AZ, no J on it. AZ. You remember AZ from the Firm? Used to be with Nas, Foxy, and Foxy with the Firm. He dropped the album about 3 weeks ago. Do or Die 2, the sequel to Do or Die. You remember the song Sugar Hill and all that? That's an
Mhm.
excellent album. The album's a vintage hip hop album, great production, great lyricism. I think those who are hip hop purists who love the vintage New York style hip hop, I think you'll really love the AZ album. When you get a chance, Do or Die, DOE, Do or Die 2. Like Mr. Dillon said, that album is fire. Go out there and check that AZ album. For y'all young kids out there, it's AZ. Yes, that is a person, no J on it. If you remember the album Asiatic, like I said, if go back and listen to the song Sugar Hill from back in the day, that's AZ. So go listen to that Do or Die 2. As Wendell Dillon said, it is fire. I think the hip hop purists who listen to this podcast will love that album.
Amen. Let me see. And with that, man, I appreciate everybody for following through. Again, our other co-host, I think he might have had something to do today, but he'll be around. So,
Hey,
we'll,
hey, much love. Hey, shout out to D-Ron. Much love to you, man. D-Ron's a great man, great father, great husband, whatever. So shout out to him. We know that he has our back, and next time we
oh
get
yeah,
on, we'll be excited to be with him again.
oh yeah, yes sir. With that said, though, we about to be up out of here. Appreciate y'all for following through. Appreciate everybody in the chat. And again, man, if y'all ain't subscribed to the channel, y'all definitely appreciate it, man. One love, Dylan. But yeah, appreciate y'all for following through. Again, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on the way out of here. And we'll catch y'all next week, man.
Be cool.
Peace.
Mhm.